Okay, welcome back. This is going to be the first game in our Discovery Cup number 3, featuring here in the red celestial. This is going to be Virion. Boo. His opponent playing the Infernal faction, and in the blue color, this is Norbashbash. And we can see Norbashbash open with a shrine here. Ruination, remember, was Virion's pick for a map. Shrine into double production. We got one vault, we got one conclave. Meanwhile, Virion, yes, on a second array. And looks like going for a purifier next. And the Hexen in here, trying to see what she can see. Sees the second base. And is she going to go back in and scout that purifier? No. Oh, here she is, yep. No, just checks out the Arc ship. Arc ship's popping out more and more, of course. Where's this one going? And she does go in and use the Therium purifier. Let's see here. Oh. I'm trying to use observer controls, and I guess those only work in replay. So when you're watching a replay, you can check vision. But I guess you can't do that in a live game. Yeah. But I'm still happy that we're getting these new replay features. As a caster, I recognize I'm a very small part of the community, but I think a lot of the community does like to watch games. So having those replay features is always going to add extra value to these tournaments and such. We see Norbashbash coming out here to try and get the speed camp. And I do like this creeping with 2 Gaunts and a Brute, with the exception of the fact that these Shadow Massives are really nasty and you gotta dodge them, you gotta focus on them, you gotta micro, as we see there with the Gaunts. This force is usually strong enough to take out those early creep camps without too much problem. Now, Virion back home here, Creation Chamber up. It was another Purifier that was going down there, so we got a lot of Therium coming in. That looked like it was maybe a misplaced building and a replace, but we got 3 Legion Halls here. And I think we know what that means. That means we're probably going to start with some Seraphim into Archangels, maybe. And I've been seeing this as a common kind of build these days in a Celestial versus Infernal. And I haven't played against it that much yet. Maybe once or twice. But I'm still a little puzzled why Seraphim are the unit of choice. There must be something about them that makes them good. Maybe it's just that they're flying. And, brutes can't hit them. But maybe it's something else. Maybe it's, as we'll see here, this Seraphim's probably going to go and creep this by itself. I'm not sure if it can take it. Wow, actually, it's really nuking that Shadow Demon real quick. And on paper, this is certainly the value of the Seraphim, which is creeping. We did get a Fiend chased away here. That's because they do extra damage versus creep, and they also take less damage versus creeps. So there's definitely that benefit. And then they also have some power that I'm not 100% sure. They got energy on there, and I'm not sure what that energy is for. I think they go speed. They can speed away, maybe. Oh, there we go. Winged dash. So there's some little dash ability they can use, and I think that spends their energy. And that just lets them scoot away. I've seen that a few times in action when they're, weak, maybe in a harassed position. So interesting, we've got a bunch of Seraphim just sort of rallied over to the corner here, while another one is kind of on creep duty, maybe, or maybe it's chasing this Fiend around. And it's a bunch of Gaunts here for Norbashbash. And a third base as well, so Both players focusing on eco. Oh, there's no actual array here. Was that taken out or just hasn't gone down yet? I hear the noises. Oh, there we go. It's Seraphim taking out these creeps. And look at this. Seraphim's harassing imp line. Now that is certainly something. But there's already Shadow Flyers on the map. And 2 of those Seraphim go down to the Shadow Flyers. But there's still 1 left. And they are looking to get some imp kills. We see a Shroud Stone there. But these other Seraphim flying around. And then the army of Norbashbash has decided, I'm going to move across the map. If you're going to try and harass me, I'm going to try and get some damage done. There are some Seraphim here. But they get... a couple Gaunts get them, but these Gaunts push forward into the strike node and they get zooted. And now it's the Seraphim flank. But I don't know if there's enough here. And yeah, they have to scoot away. One of them might go down to this infest. All of them are infested, technically. Yeah, they got enough hit points. They're not gonna go down to that. More Seraphim out, but it's a lot of Gaunts here, and Gaunts can hit air. The Brutes can't, but the Brutes, if they can do the tanking on that strike node, that's really all they need to do. And that strike node does go down. We don't see any Sovereign's Watch here. I can't recall if you need a fully up or a fully finished array or not to cast that. But the Seraphim doing their best to try and hold this off, but I think there's just too many Gaunts here. There's the Sovereign's Watch, and that must be true that you gotta wait for that to finish. We got a double Sovereign's Watch, but the Purifier goes down really quickly. Now we're getting some Vectors coming in, and they could be a good added force to take on these Gaunts. But there were only 2. And this base is dead, so Virion decides, okay, I'm not going to waste units defending a dead base. We see Hellborn showing up now. Those are going to be good against the Seraphim and against the Vectors. At least from what I've been hearing on this patch, Hellborn are really strong one way or another, no matter what they're fighting. So if you play Infernal, get Hellborn, I guess. Now I've tried to follow that in my own games and I have failed. They're not OP for me, but maybe that's because I just don't know what to do. Vector's coming in the back, trying to pick off the Hellborn, but nice micro from Norbashbash. Also good blink micro, or let's call it what it is. That's Delta Jump micro on those Vectors as they scoot back into the base. Although there's a Fiend there chasing them down. And look at this, Shadow Flyers. The Shadow Flyers all get cleaned up by Vectors, so good control by Virion there to pull his Seraphim back into the defense of his Vectors. With all that said, Virion has already lost 2 bases and is going to lose this Vision Tower. That means Virion's on 2 bases versus Norbashbash's now 4 base. The 4th base is up, although not saturated yet. Really interesting. SimCity in the back here. Double Spires. Is there a triple Spire? So very interesting composition here. Lots of Gaunts. Hellborn in the back for that extra AoE damage. And then Spriggans and Shadow Flyers up above to help deal with the Seraphim. There's a lone Purifier over here. But this little Strike Force here is just trying to take towers. And the Force of Virion is not looking like... I mean, it can definitely take out this little tiny force. I don't know if I'd be wanting to send my Seraphim over there when it's largely just Shadow Flyers here. And as Spriggan finds them, the Shadow Flyers get taken, at least a couple of them taken out, and the Spriggan very low. Managed to get to safety. Those Vectors Delta Jump, kill the Spriggan. And now we're starting to see Archangels out. But the supply lead is in favor of Norbashbash with about a 25 supply lead. And wow, what's that, 8 Hellborn and a big chunk of Gaunts. That's looking like a pretty nasty force. And against this force. Actually, now we have an Animancer that can cast Unseen Veil if she's got that Adept training. And we do have 2 Archangels above, which are going to be good against these Gaunts. They instead do their Meteor Strike on the Hellborn, which can be good because they do punch really hard into these Hellborn, and we already see Hellborn getting wiped. Gaunts in the back not being able to find a way to attack because they're not in range. And that unfortunately means they weren't getting the DPS they needed. But nonetheless, we see Virion trying to retreat here. Unfortunately losing both Archangels. And there is another one here. Can he get a good Meteor Strike? Ooh, good dodge actually from Norbashbash to pull back those Gaunts at the last second there. So they're not all impacted by that Archangel. Now a lot of units here trying to focus fire on those Archangels. As Shadow Flyer had a chance to impact the Archangel, but they did not there. I wonder what that was about. This is just a tiny force from Virion, but he keeps adding Archangels, hoping that that's going to help. And indeed it might. They are very tough, powerful units, but there's a dragon coming in. You want those Archangels punching the dragon in the face, but instead the Archangel goes down. That's going to be GG out of Virion in the first game. Here we are in game number 2. This is going to be Norbashbash in the Blue Infernal. And his opponent, representing the Celestial faction, playing in the red. This is Virion. Already got a Morph Core here, chilling, trying to put down that array on the right timing, and indeed it did. And the Hexen, she's already into the base, seeing what she can see. She sees that Arc Ship above, no threat there. Is she going to come and harass these Prisms? Yeah, little toxic green bolts of magic energy. Take that, Prism. And let's see if Virion knows the secret. Will Virion surge the collection array to heal the Prism? Or will they just ignore it altogether? What happened there? The Hexen switched from one Prism to the other. That was interesting. But so far, no surge on the array. So is she going to get a kill? We got a surge that... There we go. Surge on the array. I like that. A late surge. We can see here, this increases the health regeneration. And now when you look at the health there, I think it out-heals. Maybe it's exactly the DPS of the Hexen. In any case, that Prism is not going to go down. It looks like it's slightly healing, actually. And finally the Hexen says, okay, I get it. That's a futile effort. I'm going to go for this Prism. Sorry about that. Let me turn my phone off as I should have earlier. Okay, my bad. Okay, the Hexen, where did she go? She finally went home. She said, you know what? Creeping is going to give me better experience than shooting at invincible Prisms. So this creep camp's going to get cleaned up easy. As I mentioned earlier, that when you use this force of Brutes and Gaunts, you can kind of take it out somewhat easily. There was only a little bit of micro needed to keep that Brute alive. And now the Brute's just soaking up in the healing bath there at the healing camp. And the rest of the unit's probably going to go grab this speed camp, which is fairly normal too. Brute finally deciding to come along for the ride. But another Brute showed up here. I like this effigy positioning. Already spread out into the sort of middle of Broken Crown here. And also some pretty nice control from Norbashbash in creeping. As I always comment, these Shadow Massives are a big pain in the butt. So you often have to control your units well to make sure you're not losing some Fiends, maybe a Gaunt, even a Hexen I've lost to them every once in a while. Fiends going out first, going for the Vision Camp. Meanwhile, it's Vectors over here for Virion, trying to take out the Health Camp, and it's a Fiend already on the array. Now, how's the DPS on that one? So the DPS is just about equal to the the HP growth as the building builds. And poor little fiend gets taken out by the vectors. And remember that the celestial buildings are going to have a natural regen. That means they are gonna get back up to full. So that array, when it finishes, it's still not finished, but when it finishes, it will fairly rapidly get back up to full health. Pretty big force coming out of Norbashbash. At least in terms of size, it looks like a lot of units. Supply-wise is a little behind, actually, Virion. And that might be good news for Virion in this game. Having lost the first game, might be able to come back. And Virion also taking out the speed camp here. Interesting that Norbashbash chose to go for the 2 vision towers. Sometimes you'll see players go and grab the opponent's speed camp. And here the vectors cleared out the camp, but they didn't claim it. That was probably just a misclick, leaving too quickly. Fiend in the base, looking to see what it can see. Sees all the tech structures. And what do we have in here? We have the Star Forges. Well, that's maybe not surprising. We had lots of vectors out. But we do have 2 Legion Halls on the way. And that might just be to augment these vectors with Seraphim again, like we saw last game. And then build up towards the Archangels. Again, great effigies from Norbashbash here. Now, unfortunately, because he did use that effigy on the low ground there, that means on cooldown right now, which means no Plague Axes, means no Infest. This is a pretty good push out here from Norbashbash. Using the Gaunts to deal some damage to the vectors while the brutes were getting picked off. But now the Gaunts are going to try and take the healing camp, and the vectors, that forces the vectors to fight on the Gaunts' terms. And yeah, the vectors decide, okay, we're going to leave then. Surrender the camp to you. And the effigy there helping to also heal up the white health. One really low vector there. Now we got Shadow Flyers added, and these are preemptive. We didn't even see any Seraphim out yet. So Norbashbash has an idea of how to respond to this sort of Seraphim composition. And at least for Norbashbash, it's a lot of Gaunts plus the Shadow Flyers. We might actually see Hellborn again like we did last game. There's a Prism taken out. The vectors, it looked like they were going to come and try and defend, but I think they just decided that was a lost Purifier. No point in losing some units there. The vector tried to take the tower, but there was too much there for it to deal with. Now the big boy brutes can't get in there. And okay, the vectors, and we do have a single saber. This is interesting. Okay, because of the vision tower, Norbashbash changed his mind and said, I'm not going to creep. I'm going to come try and fight and chase you away from the tower. And once again, I think Virion is okay with this to an extent, as long as he can kite and get damage on those units while those units can't return the favor. Blast nodes now. Blast nodes are nasty. Look how many dead Gaunt Guts there are over here. Another Purifier was put down, but it's going to get taken out. A couple Sabers there just out of range from their long range. They used to have a much longer range, but that got nerfed recently. And the Sabers finally getting some good shots off. Nice strike node from the high ground. Those Fiends are going to be taken up, cleaned up easy. But now we have the Shadow Flyers all impacted on the Prism, which didn't actually kill it. I mean, if it killed it, it might have been worth it, but it didn't actually kill it. The Spriggans take it out, and Starver's Watch chase them away. Ooh, another Purifier over here might be a free kill for these Sprigs. And in fact, more sprigs flying over there as well. Look how slow that poor prism moves with the binding saliva on it. And this more, of course, sadly also got rallied over here to its death. And my cat is obscuring the minimap. Sorry for that. I couldn't see where I needed to go. That's her saying she wants a little attention from me. Here's those Hellborns I was talking about. Those are going to be a really good addition now. The Gaunts have been preserved largely throughout this game as well, which is also great, but it's really meaning that supply lead for Norbashbash. Now, look at this. His Spriggans are right in here doing the harass. This array gets taken down. Now, remember, with the changes to Econ recently, that means those prisms can no longer mine there. They are basically useless. That whole mine is taken out. And so they've rallied down here, but actually, where are they headed? I thought they were just going to that mine, but that's an interesting place for them. I think that was probably just a little bit misclick. Oh, wow. I did not see this. Those were just hell. What were those Hellborn doing? That was not great. A bunch of Hellborn got taken out for free, so that's going to help Virion get back in this. And I mean, Virion hasn't taken a lot of losses, but the supply lead is just in Norbashbash's favor. Another Purifier, though, is going to go down. Eventually, this could just mean some Therium problems for Virion. We already see that Virion has a large Luminite bank. That might be testament to losing a lot of Purifiers already. More Hellborn getting caught out. But the Delta Jumps try and get on top, and the Vectors, they auto-target air. That's their preferred target. And in this battle goes the way of Norbashbash, and we get a GG from Virion in game number 2. Alright, here we are in the third match of this series, and this is going to be Norbashbash in the Blue Infernal, up 2-0, looking to close it out. And his opponent, hoping to just stay alive in this series, playing the Celestial faction in the red, this is Virion. And we are on Titan's Causeway. We will see what that's going to mean. This was Virion's choice, as this is a loser's pick tournament. And so, as the loser of the last match, chose to pick Titan's Causeway. Look at that skull impacting. That's a scout skull. I really haven't seen those since like 0.00. Back then, you used to open up by just firing skulls over across at your opponent and using the skull to scout instead of walking your Hexen over. Nowadays, you tend to walk your Hexen more, and that's to preserve energy on your Hexen, so that when you go creeping, you can get as many fiends as you want. But I do like that Norbashbash was like, whatever, I'm just going to send a skull across the map. My Hex is a little lazy. She doesn't want to go out for that hike. And if you are playing a particular build, in this case it looks like it was Shrine into the 2 productions, that means there's no units out, and you're going to have plenty of time to regen. So, already at 54 energy. That's a scan that comes out. Kind of well timed to see the production just finishing. Brute pops, and are we going to see, yeah, some Gaunts. So this is very similar style to what we've seen out of Norbashbash so far. And interesting work with the Fiends there, or sorry, with the Slimes here to get them on the Hexen instead of the Brute. In fact, is that Hexen gonna pull back? Please pull back! You're so low, I don't like it. Ay, ay, ay. Boom. Okay, back into it. Health camp cleared. It's Starforge over here. Surged up, producing Vector, first Vector. And looks like another store, yeah, another store forge gonna go down. And again, I want to comment on the effigy spread from Norbashbash. I really like this, almost like creep tumors. Trying to spread out onto the map, and early on, getting a lot out. And going for the vision camp here. This is going to be... I like how he chose to split one of his brutes to get more DPS from the fiends. It's just going to take out the shadow demons that much quicker. Where's this guy going? Going to scout. I like this too. Norbashbash is... got some of those skills that make you into a better player by, you know, splitting off a fiend and sending it to scout. There's another fiend getting split off and sent to scout. And those are good skills, but it requires you often resetting your control groups or not using all army and things like that. And that's what I mean. Just little mechanical skills that as a player you can build up to become better. Things I'm still working on, to be honest, because at least I got into some bad habits early on in my Stormgate careers of using the all army key. I don't use it anymore. I used it once in a recent game where all my control groups got messed up, and I'm like, oh, I panicked, and then I all armied and just said control 1, and it's like, well, there's at least one use for it. And if you haven't checked it out yet, go check out the auto control groups and new hotkeys from a research patch. That is so cool. You can set, so I'm very simple. I just set all my ground units to one hotkey and all my air units to another one. And, you know, I might do more like Hellborn on a third one. Actually, I put my fiends on a third one, so it's easy for me to split my fiends off if I want to. Yeah, so go check out those new hotkeys. A little more passive game so far from the two of them. It's fiends on the map out here just trying to get that scouting. And again, we see the vectors coming to be like, get out of here, buddy. And these, I thought they might be going to try and do that at the other base too. This vector takes out the fiends, but now... Okay, but what are you going to do? Shoot from the other side of the trees? Without vision, you can't do that, but with a Skull of Shedda, that's possible. Oh! It's actually a lumber imp. Knocking down trees with imps became a lot harder. And I hope they revert that. It kind of sucks that you have to walk your imp over and then individually target each tree. If you don't have vision on it, you can't target it. In the old model, you could target through Fog of War, which I think for trees, that's fine. Maybe I shouldn't be able to target like your buildings through Fog of War or something, but trees are neutral. Trees don't fight back, at least not yet. At least not in this game. In Warcraft 3, trees fought back. At least the big ones with bases on them. Virion going to take the Therium camp, which is going to be helpful. I think in that last match, Virion was struggling to try and get some Therium. And I think that was largely due to the harass of Norbashbash that was taking out Therium purifiers left and right. And still no base up here because the Fiend still scouted it. And these units trying to take out the collection array gets a cancel. That's really nice. Morphcore goes down though. Vector's trying to get some damage on these units. But they just retreat. Those are some speedy looking gaunts. Yeah, they got their Reaper's Rush up. And they got those speedy legs from the speed camp. And here they go, trying to take that Therium camp. Nice effigy popped. And Delta jump away. So this camp is going to be claimed by Norbashbash, which means that Therium income that Virion really wanted is no longer in his control. But here we have an Arc Fortress kind of floating forward. I wonder what that's about. I wonder if we're going to see Fate's End, the Jesus Beam, coming out. And this, the way that the Arc Fortress is positioned here makes it a tank, basically. Not only is it going to cast Healing Rays down on some of these units that get injured, but if you fight under it, then the Gaunts will target. But at this moment, the Gaunts are fighting just toe-to-toe with the Vectors, and the Vectors are kind of shredding them. It's hard to see. There is one Archangel there that's just, with its line attack, doing a lot of damage, and the Gaunts sadly shredded. Hexen gets Delta jumped on and goes down, and these Vectors are trying to take out these units. Look at this, how they go through the woods there to try and be safe. 4 Hellborn out, more Gaunts being added. But that was a good battle for Virion, I think. We still see supply in the lead of Norbashbash, though. And Spriggans over here, it's not clear if they got... If there was a collection array going down there, I didn't see that. But it kind of looked like maybe they did pick one off. Okay, so Virion trying to get back in this by reclaiming the creep camp. That was a good battle, but Norbashbash just, I feel, has a little bit better economy going and is, look at this, creeping over here while keeping some of his units in a defensive position. That's really awesome. And again, instead of just having everything on one control group. And okay, these Spriggans are looking for something to harass maybe, but we're also seeing Arc Fortress slowly move out with Vectors. I kind of like how the position of those Spriggans were kind of on the high ground, so they are harder to see. Nice Delta jump to claim some Spriggans. And now the Spriggans do find a way to harass. One of them's really low. Sovereign's Watch doesn't get any of them. Few of the Vectors Delta jump to the low ground. I kind of like that too. Although with the all army key there, or with the control group, they all got microed right back to the top immediately. Here we go. This could be the main battle. Where are the Archangels going? Their plan is to go into Hellborn. And that looks like it might have been the right answer. A couple Hellborn going down, or one Hellborn going down. 2 are really low. Actually, with Focus Fire, only 2 are lost, so maybe those Meteor Strikes might have been better on the Gaunts. That's going to be GG from Virion in game number 3, and congratulations to Norbashbash.